just don't feel the same. Just don't feel the same.
Hello, folks. Here we are today. We have a very special edition of Coming Up Comic. We've got indie filmmaker Jon Silver in the house.
Hi, everybody. I'm John. I'm on mic, so I should use audio rather than just waving.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've got full audio, lights, camera, action. We've got John in the studio.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you for coming.
Sure.
I'm so excited to have you here. We met a couple years ago.
Yeah, at Joe's.
Yes. And we are working on a little collaboration right now. This is your first time to the studio.
And I am impressed. I did not think it would be spacious. I didn't think you would have some of the things that you do have that I like. And now I'm envisioning where to put things.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's get started with where did you grow up?
I grew up in the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan, a little town called Bloomfield Hills. And I was the youngest boy. I was the fifth. And so they were kind of like, oh my God, another one. The whole time I was growing up. And it was a very, normal 80s, 90s suburban life. Did a little theater, played a little football, played Super Nintendo, and then GameCube. And I was like, what more can I want out of life? And then I started making silly videos in my basement with a camcorder when I was 12 or 13. And we had a show called Wednesday Afternoon Live. And I go back and watch some of those sketches that we made, and I was like, this is hilarious. This is, I cannot believe 12-year-olds made something so funny.
Wednesday Afternoon Live.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
School would get out, we'd come over to my basement, and we'd just do some sketches. Usually the sketches were just like, there once was a man who had sex with a teddy bear. And then that would be like the whole sketch.
So how long did this go on for? Wednesday Afternoon Live.
Yeah, I mean, off and on for 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
I think then we had I had a little talk show. I would sit behind a desk. I think it was called the Jon Silver Show, but
Cute.
I was doing a character, not me interviewing people. I would just be like a psycho. The joke was John was an insane person filled with rage that would talk nonsense. So it was kind of a sketch. So I think that I did that for 4 or 5 years. And then me and my friend Joey and Sam, we tried to make our own movie called 3 Jews in a Car, which was basically the exact plot to The Odd Couple 2, where it's these two old New York schlubs, they have to go cross country because their kids are getting married. And the wedding is Friday, and then they have to drive across the country. And we did that with a camcorder.
Cool.
Yeah. It was the weirdest thing we'd ever done. They were like, why are you doing this? We hit a mailbox. We hit my mailbox on camera and knocked it over.
Oh.
And then we got together and showed it to all of the kids at our school. And then I was like, all right, so this is what I want to do.
Cool.
Yeah.
Would you dress up during these things? Wear different costumes and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it was like Saturday Night Live. We would do a bunch of sketches in a row. We would talk about it like 5 minutes before we would record. I'd be like, here's the thing. There's a drill sergeant. You guys are all in the army. The drill sergeant only wants to cup your balls, but he keeps coming up with reasons why he wants to cup your balls. And they were like, okay. And I just wouldn't tell people what was going to happen in the sketch other than that. And I would just, I would have like an army uniform and I would just basically be fucking around. And then like a couple of my friends were really funny too. My friend Joey, who I went to high school with, he worked on the Scarlet Pirate as well. And then he would crack me up. And so there would just mostly be like 2 or 3 of us who would be funny, and then a few other people who would just sit and giggle.
So did that do something to you, like the performing aspect, the fact that people would react to what you were doing? What was it that was fueling this desire?
I mean, so I had done plays at school, and I remember doing a few plays where I got laughs on stage, and I was like, yes, this is fun. I'd also, try to be funny in class like any other kid, and I would get laughs sometimes. But this was especially satisfying because if I was funny in a sketch that I recorded, I could then choose to show it to people, and also I had like proof, like, look, I'm funny.
Cool.
Check this out.
Yeah.
And then like years later, I could be like, I was funny 2 years ago. I have proof. And so that just became something that I liked because instead of being funny once, it is on stage and having like nothing to show for it other than the few people who saw it. Now I could just like anytime I wanted pop on a VHS that we made.
Tap right back into that.
Yeah, and show
cool.
people. Yeah.
So now all these VHS tapes, is that what most of this was recorded on?
Mostly I would just keep it on the like a DV cassette on my camcorder. And then what I would have to do is I would have to put the cords into my VCR. I'd have to hit play on the camcorder, and then I'd have to hit record on the VCR. And what I didn't realize is that there was a 2-second lag. So very often I would like hit record, I would hit play and then hit record. And so the first 2 seconds of every sketch and every cut would be delayed. So what I tried to do is I tried to get 10 minutes at a time onto the VHS tape, but there would always be a 2-second lag. So in comedy, like especially that hitting the mailbox thing was a huge laugh. And then I hit stop and record at this huge laugh, and then it was lag. So I accidentally cut it out of the VHS.
Oh.
And didn't know that until I showed it to like 20 friends.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah. So there are these VHSs, but they're shittier than just watching on the camcorder.
That's so cool. My sister, we have VHS from when we were kids, and she had them transferred over like to DVD. But do you plan on like restoring those or keeping them in a safe or something, just so you can always have access to them?
A couple of them did get uploaded to YouTube. 3 Jews in a Car is on YouTube. The teddy bears having sex with each other is on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, they're somewhere. I have these DVD or the DV cassettes somewhere in my house. What about you? So you're from the burbs here.
Yes. So I lived in Chicago until I was about 10. And then we moved out to the suburbs. And West Indy, but it was like a smaller village called Sleepy Hollow.
Sleepy Hollow?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
What a title.
Yeah, it was a magical place to grow up. At Halloween time, they would have the Headless Horseman ride, and we'd have a big bonfire. And at Christmas time, Santa would come around on the fire truck, crazy shit like that back in the 90s. But it was a special time, and since then, that suburb has just more than blown up. It's just not the same that I remember in my young mind. But that's time, right? Time kind of changes everything. My family is from the northwest side of Chicago, and most of my family still lives in the suburbs.
Yeah.
But
you don't have that like southwest Chicago. We went over there and we went to the thing and then we got the sausage.
Nah,
Yeah, you don't have that.
Nah.
Yeah.
But the other day I did introduce the show. I was like, and coming up comic. I was like, oh my God.
Come here,
Where's my
comic.
mom? No, but I can get pretty Chicago sometimes. My accent, I suppose.
It doesn't sound that bad. I mean, I used to live with a fireman from the Southwest Side.
Oh.
He was the most Chicago person I'd ever met in my entire life.
Yeah. But yeah, my family's from here and I love Chicago and I love that I can go places and know that my grandparents might have walked into this bar,
Yeah, that's
or
great.
might have walked into this shop. My grandmother's father had a butcher shop.
In the city?
They immigrated from Germany, and yeah, they had a frickin' butcher shop, with
Do you
like the
know where it is?
sandpaper. My dad has all that information, but I did try to look up like the address, and the place
Yeah.
is gone. It's no longer there for sure. But there are some places that still exist, like the place where my great grandmother lived on Lincoln Avenue, and she took pictures up on the roof because back in the day, that's how they would get their good lighting, taking the pictures up on the
Oh
roof.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'd love to go back to that building and get up on that roof and do a photo shoot. I was just talking to a friend about that actually. But I love anything that's like connected to my roots.
Yeah, that's great having such a connection to the city. Like,
Yeah.
I've only been in Chicago like 16 or 17 years. So, like, my daughter, it doesn't really have like any roots in Chicago or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then, like, we lived in the burbs for, a while, but my grandparents were like born in New York. They didn't move to Detroit until like after World War II. So there's no real like long-term connection in my family to anything in
Right.
the country, like 40 years.
Yeah.
Tops.
I hear you with that. It's something that when I was younger, I didn't really appreciate or realize that I had these ties or these connections. But then as you get older, you realize how precious things are. But yeah, Chicago is special to me. It's obviously special to you.
I do like Chicago. I like pizza. I like hot dogs. Still don't root for the sports, though. Still a Detroiter when it comes to that.
So you're making these movies, you're doing these things, experimenting with film. And I do want to touch before we get to Chicago. Your family wanted you to get into medicine.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they wanted me to have a livelihood. They wanted me to have income. That's what they knew. My parents, my dad was a doctor, and my grandfather was a doctor, and like my aunts and uncles and cousins are doctors. And then they would always like sort of they would expect me to fail. They're like, "You're not going to be able to be a doctor. You're going to be like a dentist," or they're like, "If you try really, really hard, you can just be like a general practitioner and have a family practice and not like know a lot of how to do stuff." So they kind of like encouraged me to do that. And then they, I think, just thought I was stupid. I think everyone in my family thought I was so like hit on the head as a kid, stupid, like just like sitting in the yard eating dirt. They thought that if I could ever get on clothes and not pee my pants and not stink and not be an embarrassment, that would be amazing. So yeah, like even when I was in college, my stepmother, for instance, was like, "Please take pre-med classes," and it was just ridiculous. Like I was not going to be a doctor.
So you knew that. You knew you didn't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted to be an actor, and I wanted to be like until I was like 19 or 20. I was like, I want to be on Saturday Night Live.
Cool.
It's what I wanted. I liked making these sketches in my basement. I liked being in plays. So I knew that I could like memorize lines if I had to, and I could be dramatic if I had to. Like I did Shakespeare plays.
Wow.
I did this like forensics competition where you like you're supposed to do like a few scenes, and I played Richard III. And so I got like a little trophy for playing Richard III when I was 17. So I knew I could do that. But then like just being like a chubby Jewish kid, they're like, "Well, you're not going to be Richard III. you 17-year-old. I was like, but I want to. So like acting didn't work out because I would just there were only so many roles that I could go out for, right? Like a lot of the young men in theater are not like med school dropouts. They're not like whatever this is. And so it just didn't work out. So that's why I was like, oh, I'm just going to do comedy. I'm going to do improv because then I can do whatever I want. And I could write sketches and be on an improv team and just hopefully eventually like that'll turn into a little bit of maybe like film or TV stuff. And I only occasionally got to be like in my friends' web series or sketches. So then I was like, I just want to do this things that I want to do. So I just started up again of making my own sketches and things like that.
So in college, what did you end up getting a degree in?
I double majored in creative writing and film.
Cool.
It took me like 3 years to just fully commit to that. But then I was like, this is what I want to do. So I'm just going to study it. And I wrote a lot for the school newspaper. So I was like, well, if I'm not making films or not writing films or acting or anything like that, at least I could like write for newspapers or magazines while I'm working on like a screenplay or something like that.
Yeah.
But then journalism died. So-
Died.
Died. I remember like I was out of college. It was like 2008. And I was like, please may I work at this newspaper? And they were like, we're laying off actual journalists. We're not going to hire you. And I was like, but I have a printout of my resume. I picked the font. I picked it. And yeah, so like everything that I try to do falls apart as I'm trying to do it because the world is changing so rapidly.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, so I came to Chicago for Second City and basically like comedy sketch stuff.
So tell me about your time at Second City. What was that like?
I took classes at Second City, and that was fun. We did some sketch shows and improv shows, and I got cast in the Second City show like really early on, and I was like thrilled. And then I didn't get along well with the director. He kept telling me to stop improvising, and I was like, I don't understand what's going on. Isn't this Second City? And they're like, no, we give you a script. You do the script to the word.
To the word?
Yeah. And they're like, and then after you've proven time and time again that you can do that, then we'll tell you when it's time to improvise.
Oh.
Yeah. It was very, very strange to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that didn't work out. I did a lot of improv stuff for a long time. I started my own theater. Worked at The Annoyance for a year. And then just realized that it was hard for me to take orders from people that didn't value my input.
Yeah.
So I really just started making my own films, and most of them are the same thing I was doing in high school and middle school. It's like me alone in my home. I made this short film. My wife has a stuffed lamb that's like 3 feet long. She got it at a yard sale. And so I made this short film about like a husband who's left home alone with the lamb. And he's like, it's a stuffed lamb. What could go wrong? And then the lamb runs away. So I made that, and I was like, this is just a dumb sketch, but people responded to the narrative of it. And so it got into film festivals. I was like, I don't know why this got into film festivals.
Wow.
But people, I think, thought it was deeper than I intended it to be. And so then I was like, I can't believe I'm at a film festival talking about this Lammy video I made. But it was just sort of encouraged me to make more artistic films, not just silly sketches. I love making silly sketches. But then I was like, if I actually have like a story or a little bit of, just a little bit more heart, then it's a film. Yeah. And so I started making those like 10, 12 years ago, and never did it ever again.
That is not true.
Yeah. Then I started making feature films, and now I've got like 3.75.
So let's talk about some of these films.
Yeah, you're in one.
I am. I was an extra in the premiere.
Featured.
Featured extra.
Yeah, you got a couple medium shots of you reacting, right? So yeah.
It was very exciting. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for coming to be in the movie because it's not easy to get people to just like drop everything during the day.
The day I was an extra, we filmed at the famous Music Box
Yes.
Theater, which was so cool.
How did that feel being there?
I loved it. I took the day off work just to be there. I was there all day
That's
with
great.
bells on. It was very exciting, the whole thing. And my mom used to go to the Music Box with her family to watch movies, and so that was kind of sentimental to me to be there.
I have that feeling about that theater. That's why it was so special that we got to actually shoot the movie there, because I don't have that like historical connection to Chicago, and being in that theater, knowing it's like 95 years old, it's so thrilling to see films there, especially like classic films that actually played there decades ago. So it's really fulfilling to have even like a few days part of the history of the Music Box to be part of that.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad that anybody got to be part of that.
Yeah.
And that your family went to see movies there.
Yeah.
They should still go to see.
And yes, and they will. They will. But there's a scene in the premiere when they're working on the film in the actual like filming, I don't know what you call that room of the theater, but like the projection room, is that what it was called? Was that filmed in the music? Because it's just so tight and just like old looking, and
where the projectionist says that he wasn't sure where the DCP
Yes,
is. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the actual projection booth at the Music Box.
cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if that place is haunted.
I don't know if it's haunted, but it's definitely like layered with smoke and booze and other things from like the 20s and 30s and 40s. I love it. Yeah. It was great that you got to be involved, and thank you for being a part of it. Did you get to know the other background people? I'm curious about what that day was like for you.
I did. There was a girl. Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember her name right now. It's on the tip of my tongue. But she and I hung out all day, and yes, I did meet a few people and connected well with everybody. I met some of the actors.
Did you talk to any of the like bigger lead characters? Did you talk to Grant at all? He must have been busy, but
I did get to talk to him.
great.
I didn't get to talk to Natalie, but I wanted to because I remembered her from Roseanne.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I know her. I know her.
Yeah. I think I told a few people about Natalie being in the film, and they were like, Crystal from Roseanne is going to be in the same movie as me. I'm like, yeah.
And she's so good. She's so good.
Yeah, one of the best actors I've ever worked with. It's so amazing when you write something fucking insane that I typed those words together, and that Natalie would say them so naturally that she would embody a character, and she's not really like that at all.
Yeah.
Acting at that level is so impressive that very often she would do something perfect, and then I would just stare at it, and then people were like staring at me, and they're like, "You're supposed to say cut, you idiot!" Like we're all just standing here.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I would just like be blown away by almost every take that she did. That is really such a phenomenal experience, and she's great to talk to. Like you could have very easily walked up to her and been like, you know, you're a fan, or you're so excited to be in a movie that she's in.
Well, I feel like I saw her more when like so many like the important scenes were happening. So
Yeah,
didn't really get that opportunity, but I did get to talk to a lot of the other people in the film, and just made some friends like hanging out there that day. But the whole experience was really, really cool, and the film's great. I love
Thank
the
you so
heart,
much.
the heart
Yeah.
behind the film as an artist. let's talk a little bit about where that came from inside you, the premiere.
Sure. I mean, it's like 80% autobiographical. Like most of those things happen to me.
Yeah.
It is a mix of some experiences that my other filmmaker friends have told me about. A lot of things is just me observing some things that have happened to my friends. It is honestly almost, I mean, it's really like a part documentary, like that it's taking place in the music box. These are things that are happening. Everyone's running around frantic because that's just what my experience was. When I made my first feature years ago, I went to Detroit, my hometown, to show it at my family's like main theater that we went to all the time. We contacted the manager and we said, "Can we show this movie?" And they were like, "Okay, sure. Just, try to sell 50 tickets and we'll let you show your movie here." So we did, and they just totally forgot that they had said yes. And so 45 minutes before the movie is supposed to start, I show up with my friends from the film, and we're like, "We're here for the civil hoax." And they're like, "What is that? What are you talking about?" They're like, "Do you mean Black Klansman?" And we're like, "No." They're like, "Well, Black Klansman is playing in Theater 3, so we don't know what you're talking about."
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, I've got all these emails. I have a contract. We're supposed to be showing the civil hoax today at like 7:00 in this theater. They're like, "Oh, you're those kids."
Oh my goodness.
And we're like, "Yeah, okay. Like, yeah, we're supposed to be showing this movie." And they're like, "Well, we don't think anyone's going to show up." And we're like, "We sold a lot of tickets." And they're like, "Well, we don't know. We don't know if anyone's going to show up, so we'll just have to wait and see." So like the next hour is the most stressful hour of my life because like I told everybody, "I'm a filmmaker and I made a movie,
Oh
and
my
it's going to be
God.
at a movie theater." And my mom is coming, my dad is coming, my stepmom is coming, my aunts and uncles and cousins are coming, and then other people in the movie, like they are from Detroit too, and so they invited their family. And so like maybe close to 100 people showed up, and everyone was like, "Where's the movie? What are we doing?" And we're like, "We don't know. They were supposed to show it at 7 in this theater, and then they forgot." So like
My God.
at
John.
7:15, 7:20
No.
maybe, they're like, "Okay."
Wow.
They turned on the movie, and the movie starts. But they were never like, "Hey everybody, we're gonna play the movie now. Sorry for the delay." So people are just milling about in the theater, like talking. They're like, "I like bagels," and just being like old Jewish people. And then the movie starts, and the movie doesn't start with like trailers or a jingle. The movie just starts because we're an independent film. We don't have anything before it. And so no one fucking notices for the first 90 seconds that there's a movie playing. Also, they forgot to turn on the sound.
My God,
Yeah.
John.
So for the first 5 minutes of the movie, nobody understands what's happening.
No way.
And then slowly, the lights turn down and people are like, "Are we supposed to sit?" So then the people sit down and we're like, this is a Civil War mockumentary. The narration at the beginning of the film is really important to explain to people what they're looking at. Nobody laughed for an hour.
Oh.
It was so painful. It was so painful. Me and my the co-writer, who's also from Detroit, we were in the lobby just cracking up. Like we were like, "What a spectacular failure. Like how we couldn't have gone this poorly if we had tried to fail." And so that was really what the premiere was about. Like that experience. You're showing a movie.
Wow.
High expectations, the lowest possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love knowing that story, and now that I've seen the film a couple times, I knew it was based on you, but I can feel just like that franticness
Yeah.
of that of inviting everybody in the build up to have it actually pan out like it does in the film. That's wild.
Yeah. So I mean, it's pretty much just based on that experience.
Yeah.
And I think anyone who does a show can relate. Like whether you're doing a stand-up show or a play or improv show or showing a movie, you're going to have a lot to do right before that doesn't have anything to do with the art.
Yeah.
Like you've got your material, but getting people to sit down and be quiet is not necessarily what the comedy is all about. And the same thing is true of, theater and film and stand-up. It's like there's a lot of stuff that you have to go through, and there's a lot of like, stress from being in the performing arts. And so that's one of the bigger themes. And everything else is just pieced together from like little silly things that happen in my life or funny things that happen to my friends.
So, what kind of influence did your dad have on the film?
Well, there's a character whose name is just Dad. So that is pretty heavily based on stuff that my dad had initially said to me. Greg Holloman, who's just a phenomenal actor and is so incredibly funny, he took the character in a slightly different direction because he had all these ideas that I thought worked better for him. He's a tall black guy. He played Principal Blackman on Strangers with Candy with Amy Sedaris. Did you ever see that show?
Oh my gosh, a long time ago.
Yeah, so he's in Strangers with Candy. He was in the Strangers with Candy movie, and he was just like humongous in the 90s and 2000s in Chicago especially. And he was like, I'm not old enough to have like dementia. So he like had all these ideas for like why he was acting funny, and he took it in a slightly different direction, which I think is just so great for Greg, and he was able to nail it and stuff like that. And it just worked so well. My dad was just an influence on my film career because when I was like, I don't know, 28, 29, I was like, I think I want to take filmmaking more seriously and I want to like make my own films. Everyone else was like, you're just such a spectacular failure and waste of space. You need to drop everything and go get a medical degree, you idiot. My dad was like, no, you have to be a filmmaker. And my dad was early on, he's like, you are a filmmaker.
Wow.
He's like, all of my friends go to the movie theater where your movie played. And he's like, and he brought some of his friends to that spectacular failure on the Civil Hoax. So in his mind, he's like, you're a filmmaker. And that's like a couple of the lines in the film are based on stuff that he said. So he was a huge influence because not many people believed in me. In fact, I can't think of anyone else who believed in me. And so, yeah, like my dad was a huge influence. I would not have made this movie if not for my dad.
I should add that you lost your dad.
Yeah. 4 weeks after we wrapped on the film, yeah.
So, how has that affected what you're doing now, like, and what you're doing next? And that film was obviously a testament to him. So, how do you move forward with that, or how have you moved forward with that?
Well, I mean, I wanted to make the movie, and I had wanted to make the movie for a long time, and incorporating aspects of my father as a character in the film were important. But as it took longer and longer to make the film, I was like, please, God, let me finish this film while he's still alive. And I didn't actually finish editing and everything, the film, but we finished shooting the film, principal photography, while he was still alive. And so I got to see him one last time, and we had wrapped. And so I was able to tell him. And so that's, a sense of pride. So for the last like year, maybe, I don't know, 6-9 months, there's been like a feeling of now what, because I'm trying to get some other things off the ground, but it takes a long time. And I was, for the first 6 months of after my dad passed away, I was so busy with editing and finishing the premiere
Yeah.
that I didn't really have time to grieve or think about what it was like dedicating the film to my dad, but he's not going to see it.
Yeah.
So I never really like thought about that very much until like at the Davis Theater, like at the end on the big screen, you know, it says dedicated to my dad, and that was really like one of the first times that I felt my dad's absence, because I just been so, I don't want to say in denial, but like focused on finishing the movie.
Yeah.
If I was working on the movie, he was still alive. I
Right.
think is probably what was going on for me. Now it's just like, all right, so I can't make movies for my dad anymore. So now what do I do?
Yeah.
And I've got some things I'm trying to make, but it is so fucking hard to make independent movies. So incredibly hard because of how expensive they are. Yeah. And I wish they were cheaper, and I wish that I could do something way cheaper and have people still want to see it. So that's a balance, but the premiere is still playing across the country.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm focused on now, is having people look at a tolerable movie and be like, see, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can get people to tolerate it.
So it's been brought to many different fests, and you were nominated for Best Director. Tell me about that.
That's a great feeling. Been nominated a couple of times personally. I really like it when the film just gets nominated, because I feel like if it's just me getting nominated for director, that kind of like, you know, goes around all the people who worked so incredibly hard on the film. And there are many aspects to the film where somebody did something that I couldn't even come close to doing. Like, especially the, you know, like the entire cast. Like, it's such an ensemble cast. And so I prefer when the film itself is nominated for an award, but it is still validating to get nominated for directing. I think when people do that, they just don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So they're like, this movie turned out fine. All right. Good directing.
Great job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You clearly don't work for the Chicago Reader.
No, I do not.
Did you read that review?
No,
Okay.
why? Was it no bueno, Chicago Reader?
Yeah, they did not like the film. But also, fuck you, Chicago Reader. I didn't think you watched the whole film. They're like, I don't want to get into that.
As if.
Yeah.
As if.
It's just, it's frustrating because they did criticize the writing, but the review is poorly written. So I'm like, this is the perfect example. This is a plaque to hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy.
Yeah.
That's the world we live in, baby.
Yeah.
But there's opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one.
Not me. I don't have an asshole. I poop into a colostomy bag, and then I mail that to the Chicago Reader.
Oh my God, hilarious.
Sorry, I shouldn't criticize.
No, but it's your film, and
Yeah.
you put a lot of work and heart and soul into it. So it's your baby.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah. My daughter.
It is your
My
baby.
daughter
But you
is
have an
my baby.
actual baby.
Yeah.
But
she's not a baby anymore. She's 4.
4.
She's gonna be a director sometime
Aw,
soon.
a little director in training. Now, how about your wife? How long have you guys been married?
We have been married, 11 and a half years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you meet her when you were in Chicago?
Mm-hmm.
Is she from Chicago?
She's from the North Shore. She lived in the city for a couple of years, and I lived like 6 blocks away. And so, yeah, we like awkwardly got set up. We had friends in common. Like, she played ultimate frisbee with guys I did improv with.
Cool.
And so then we met for a drink, and yeah, we've just been together for like 15 years.
Wow. Congratulations. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
And it's cool that you're able to be creative together. It sounds like a little bit. Does she get
bit.
into like throwing you film ideas, or does she act in any of your
Occasionally.
films?
So she is also an extra in the premiere.
Oh,
She wasn't there the main day of the background in the theater, but there's a couple of shots where you can see my wife sitting in the theater. Yeah, so she was just there for a pickup date. She is a very different type of creative. She's a ceramicist. So her creativity is about, planning and patience and solitude. And she'll just make one physical thing that one person gets to own. And it's a very different type of art, but we bond very much about like what happens when you make something and you love it and no one else likes it,
Yeah.
or you make something and it breaks, or we both teach a little bit. And so I'll teach and, 5 people will show up, and she'll do a class and 5 people will show up, and we're like, all right, so do we feel bad about ourselves because we're not like teaching, crowds of people?
right.
So we bond a lot over that. What she likes to watch on screen and on TV is very different from what I like to watch. So when she read the script for the premiere, her liking it was a huge compliment, because a lot of the other stuff I'd written, she'd been like, this is fine, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
So that's always been a little difficult, but then also it's really good to have that outside eye,
For sure. From somebody you
yeah.
trust.
From someone I
especially.
trust. Yeah.
Yeah. Things are getting so busy. And we were talking about that before we started, just like the pace of everything's happening so fast.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of ideas myself for films. We've talked about some of these. There's some comedians that are working on writing scripts right now, some feature film ideas, some short film ideas, which is a great segue into something that we are collaborating on, something that you do. You just mentioned that you do teach, and you host filmmaking workshops.
I do. God, I hope this comes out in like 3 months past when we're having the workshop here.
I do.
Yeah, so I'll do workshops because I think filmmaking in especially feature films is scary to a lot of people. A lot of the people I know, they're like, well, I know how to get my cameraman and my editor to help me make this 3-minute video where it's me in my apartment. And they don't know how to scale that to be a huge production. And so I've found out that there's really no right way to do that. What I've picked up is lots of little tips and tricks to how to do a feature film and not spend millions of dollars. We figured out the other day, a Marvel movie cost $2 million per minute to make. $2 million per minute.
No way.
Yeah. Maybe it's 1.6 or whatever. But
Crazy,
it's nearly $2 million per minute to make a Marvel movie. My movies cost about $800 a minute. So it obviously is not the same quality exactly, but I've seen this in newspapers. They'll be like, this movie is playing in theater 1, John's movie is playing in theater 8, right? So you can make movies cheaper than millions and millions of dollars. And so that's what the workshop is about. It's just teaching people how to basically get into the game with some of the basics and focus on the things that are free, which the art and the creativity is free. And so that's what the workshop is mostly about. Frugal filmmaking.
Cool. And do you do a different workshop is it directing, like specialized for directing?
I do have a directing workshop I do, which sometimes what I'll do is I'll do some sort of hybrid, which is like frugal directing, or I'll do one that's like specifically comedy directing. Usually I like to do the directing ones that are a little bit more for people who are intermediate or advanced in filmmaking. The frugal filmmaking one is for anybody. With
And I
any
was going to
experience
ask that.
level. Yeah.
That's great to know. So
Yeah.
any experience level is
Yep.
welcome.
Yep.
Okay.
If you've never done it before, if you've done it 100 times before, you'll learn something new, and everyone's every filmmaking experience level is encouraged to come.
So yes, come to our frugal filmmaking workshop. More to come.
Text,
Ding ding ding
text.
ding ding. But we'll have you back too, and we'll do a follow up, and we'll talk more about how the 30th went.
Great.
But I'm super excited for that. I also wanted to ask you about the premiere.
Yeah.
Where the premiere, is it playing anywhere after April 23rd?
It is. There is going to be I'm going to get this wrong. So Champaign Urbana has a new film festival. I think they're calling it Shabana.
Shabana.
I'm probably not saying that correctly. Sorry, Nat. The Shabana Film Festival. It'll be there May 31st. I want to say that's correct. And it's playing at a couple other festivals in the Midwest. One in Mexico. But
Wow.
yes, so right now, it'll be in Chicago over the summer. Those dates just aren't set yet. You can always go to showpub.com and we'll put up the dates.
Okay, cool. And we will be collaborating on some very exciting things, though. And who
Absolutely.
knows, we might be doing a pop-up premiere showing here.
I
if
think we should
can.
do that. I love treating filmmaking the same way that like people are treating stand-up.
Yeah.
There's no reason that you can't like get a room and show 10 people your film. You know, if you're doing stand-up, people do stand-ups in bars all the time. I was like, why can't we show some films
For
in
sure.
bars? They have back rooms. And you came and saw The Scarlet Pirate years ago, right? That's in that second story. It's called The Clash on Clark. They have a small stage. We got maybe like a dozen people to come watch The Scarlet Pirate, which is another like ridiculously wacky movie I made. But I love that. Like I like showing smaller crowds the film. There's less stakes.
Yeah.
If it's a big movie theater and we have 200 and something seats and 12 people show up, I feel like a failure. If it's a small room and we have 12 people, we're having fun. This is just for fun. So we should definitely do that. I'd love to show films here, but then also like maybe we can do a shorts night. I can help
For sure.
get those filmmakers together.
And I'm glad you brought up The Scarlet Pirate, because that was a hilarious film.
Thank you.
And it was a special night because I met Sarah Shockey.
Tell me about Sarah Shockey. I'm not familiar. Just kidding, Sarah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Sarah's phenomenal. She actually, this is a weird podcast universe. She was on my friend's podcast talking about how much she liked The Scarlet Pirate, and a whole bunch of people learned that it existed from Sarah talking about it on a different podcast, because we made it in 2020. So
Wow.
I thought the pandemic was gonna be like 6 months, but a lot of people just like weren't going out for a long time. So The Scarlet Pirate kind of just was in this weird bubble of just the improvisers who were in it knew about it, and we only had a few screenings. So Sarah really helped get the word out. She saw it at the Music Box Garden like a year and a half after we finished. But so, yeah, Sarah is a phenomenal human being, and she has great taste in movies.
I love Sarah Shockey. She's a very special friend of mine. And it was cool because through that Scarlet Pirate screening, I ended up hanging out with her the rest of the night. And I later met Marty Gerosa.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I'd met Marty Gerosa.
Marty's a great stand-up, and I remember when we met that you would get along. I knew you would get along with Marty. Yeah. Marty was in a different film of mine. I'm doing stand-up. And I've always had such an affinity for stand-up. I always loved watching stand up as a kid. It's just to me like such a pure form of comedy because you don't have anything except a microphone, right? So it's always really, really impressive to me when people can do what you're doing.
I was going to ask you, have you ever done stand-up or open mics?
I did an open mic once, I don't know, like 11 years ago, 12 years ago. And I was like, I'm going to try out some stand-up material because I never really done it before. I always do like more like character-based scene stuff. So I know that I can like be on stage, but I never really broken that fourth wall before. So I did an open mic and it was fine. Like, I don't know, got pity laughs. I definitely had material that was like kind of going somewhere, and people were like, "All right, we see where you're going with this," but it wasn't like polished.
So you'll keep your jokes in the writing for now?
Probably, but I do every once in a while come up with a joke. I'm like, this would be really good for stand up. It doesn't work for dialogue in a film or anything like that. Maybe I'll send you some. And you let me know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or you can make your own little, like, start your own little list, and who knows, maybe someday you'll find yourself doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can relate to this more than anybody, but it's like when you're starting out and you're getting nowhere and no one's laughing, it's so discouraging. You're like, why am I doing this?
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's a challenge of it, I suppose, too.
Yeah.
And you have overcome all of the challenges in your career and just
Sure.
continue to do it, and you're doing an awesome job, and
Thank you so much.
I'm grateful to know you.
Yeah, you should call me up every day and say that, please. I'll give you some money or something.
Sure.
Because people, I mean, film is a very different art form. So I face discouragement and rejection so much because of what I'm competing with.
Yeah.
And so it's great to hear that people like the movies at all.
Yes.
And this has been great. So thank you very much for having me
Well,
on.
thank you for being
Yeah.
here. I did want to talk about, as we start to wrap up, Marty DeRosa was in another film that you
Yeah.
directed,
Yeah.
Twain Canceled.
Yeah. Twain
Great film.
Canceled is streaming now wherever computers are available. Twain Canceled was a really good production, and it was a really great concept for a film. It was written by Grant Troyer, and what I loved about it is not only is it about stand-up, but it's about Mark Twain coming back to life and doing stand-up, and about this this struggling female stand-up. So it just to me was a really good concept because I've always loved when like classic literature is refreshed in a modern way that both references the classic literature, but then also takes that theme and puts it into something that's happening in like today's society. So
Yeah.
I really like the concept for it.
Me too.
Mike Jimerson is the actor who plays young drunk Mark Twain. It's like just the best performance I think I've seen in one of my movies.
It's good. I mean, he's really good.
He's just so
And funny.
naturally
He's- I
funny and
It is funny.
sarcastic and just he has an affinity for drinking. So he just was so good at the character. And it was a great experience directing that film because I didn't write it. And so that was something that was going to be a challenge, working with somebody else on bring their vision to life as a full feature.
Wow.
You know, not just a short, not just a commercial. Everything I'd done before was like 6 or 7 minutes or less. So this is a 90-minute film. It was a great experience, and the cast was great. And Marty is the first person to speak in the film.
Yeah,
It opens
yeah,
with him
yeah.
doing stand-up.
Marty DeRosa is crazy that I hadn't seen him on the scene yet when I first met you and then Sarah and then obviously Marty. But man, the first time I saw him do stand up, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This guy is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. He blew me away. But through that connection, I ended up having him in my short film, Candy Cigarettes.
I want to see it.
I was thinking, I'm like,
gimme.
I should have sent this to him before the.
Yeah.
But it's just been so crazy. But I'm going to send it to you right after this. So you
Great.
can check it out.
We'll do another episode.
You-
We can talk about it.
You got it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Marty and Sarah, and they used to live 200 feet from me, and now they moved to Wisconsin, and I miss them. But it's great. Sarah worked on the crew for the premiere, and having Marty and Dwayne canceled is great because now they're like permanently in the same art forever.
Yes,
right? So-
yes. That's special. And I did see Sarah's name on the credits the first time I saw the
Yeah.
premiere, and I got a picture of it and I sent it to her, and I was like geeked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're great people, and it was you who introduced me to them. So thank you for that connection.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And it was cool meeting you at that little film club, talking about movies, and here now, a couple years later, things are happening.
Yeah, I love how film like the art of filmmaking brings people together in a way that they can then go create their own stuff. You know, like a lot of times you have a hobby where you get together with people and it's great and you like share the experience, but then you don't go and make your own necessarily. You know, like if you go to the horse race, people don't get together and start their own horse race. So that's what I love about film is people are like, well, we go to film clubs and we go to film screenings and we see stuff that we like and we can get together and make our own stuff.
Something I really love about you is when we've talked about ideas, you say, how can I help? Like,
Yeah.
how can I help? What can I do? And that has been super cool. And I feel like with this workshop, bringing it, kind of crossing that world of film into these comedians that do have dreams of making movies. And I think it's going to be a fruitful, and not even just comedians. I mean, there's a lot of people interested in the workshop that just have that desire and have that little voice inside them that says, I think I could do this.
Yes.
So
And the answer is they can.
You can.
I hate when people try to exclude other, filmmakers from the industry, and they try to make it closed off. I used to, when I was younger, I would like try to talk to like famous filmmakers, and I'll try to ask them questions. And the people who were standoffish really discouraged me from making stuff. The people in the past who I talked to who were welcoming, and I never thought they would talk to me, and then they talked to me for a really long time. That's so encouraging that I absolutely want to emulate that and be the same to anyone who has any interest in filmmaking. The more information and any guidance that I can lend, it is probably more satisfying for me than the information they're going to get.
that's so cool of you.
Well,
So
thank you.
genuine. So as we close this thing out, I want to know, what is your pie in the sky? If you could have anything, what's your thing?
Oh, I want to just. I always have another project in mind, right? So I'm never short on ideas. I want to have access to resources in a way where I'm connected with the audience, so that if I want to make a project, it will get seen and somehow pay itself back. It's so stupid that what I'm doing costs so much money. You know what I mean? Like, I want to make a project, and so I'm like, well, I need $150,000 to make the project I want to make, which is stupid. Like, I don't want to need that amount of money, but I want to make it at the quality I want to make it, and I need to pay the people to come be part of it.
Sure.
So it's stupid that I need that much money, but I would love to be at a level, either I get better or I get access to some things where it's like, well, I want to make this $150,000 project. And they're like, yeah, absolutely, no problem. Because we know that will make its money back, either because, you have tens of thousands of people who will want to see the movie, or you have one person that loves your movies so
Yeah,
much
yeah.
they'll write a check.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I want. Or, like I can just be content with like, I'm going to make a $500 project and just that's satisfactory to me.
Yeah.
What the issue is, I've made $500 projects and I'm always like, well, if we had a little bit more money, it'd be a little better. And they do get a little bit better, but I'm not 100% sure that it's because of the money. So I would love to either just be satisfied with what I have or be working at a level where it's sustainable. I know that this is not my last one,
Right.
which is, it's just tough with filmmaking.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to be doing more stand-up. And you can probably do stand-up as long as you live. People are not going to be like, we can't allow you near this microphone.
Right. Well, I believe in you, and I cannot wait to see what's next, because we are just getting started, Jon Silver. And even though your sparkling water is now empty, but
There is some liquid in the bottom, and I drink like a normal person.
the side sip. It's been so awesome chatting with you.
Yeah, it's been really good.
What do you want to leave us with?
Go just, I don't know, send me money or no, go to the internet and look up my stuff. Go to showpup.com. You can see a lot of the films just on there embedded in the blogs. You can find some more information about when there's going to be screenings of the premiere. Yeah, it's just like go see a movie.
I like it.
Yeah.
Go see a movie.
Go see a movie. Go see an indie movie.
Go see an indie movie.
Yeah.
There you go. Jon Silver, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure being here and chatting with you.
Thank you so much. We'll be seeing more of you in the future. Here we are. Thank you to Jon Silver. And that's a wrap for Coming Up Comic. We out. Peace.
Just don't feel